We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a 3rd grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. This is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the mountains. Good evening in the central. Good evening on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Reparations perspective, bringing you those free and hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our code, socializing our suffering. How y'all doing, family? I see you, Frank Weezy and The Rock. Welcome, Twitter. Welcome, ScrewTube. Welcome, Facebook. One and all, thank you for joining the live. My apologies for being 40 minutes late. I do apologize. I'm preparing for travel for New Year's and all this jazz, and my errands just ran way over time. And I apologize. That's all I can do. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Let everybody know she's finally arrived. I just thank my guests for being so patient with me. Lord have mercy. The struggle is real, family. Just when I thought I was all prepared to travel, here I go, still having so much left on the plate to do. I thank each and every one of you for being here. Listen, without further ado, I'm going to bring up TRAHERN. He's here to help clarify. I've got your questions. I've got your concerns. Thank you so much, The Rock. I've gotten everything from you. You've blown up my social media. You've blown up my emails, my text. Okay, I see you, family. And I said, I'm not going to try to tackle or answer some of these outstanding questions. I thought I would leave it to TRAHERN, who's leading the charge in St. Paul for our reparations, for him to help to clarify so we can all get an understanding. Straight talk makes for straight understanding, family. But I hear you. I know your concerns. We've had a time trying to get clear about who the reparations is for all throughout the country. Now the commissions are popping up. So without further ado, let's introduce yet again a friend to the broadcast, Mr. TRAHERN Cruz. Stand by. Thank you, TRAHERN. How are you?
Good to see you. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. We're so proud of the work you're doing on the cutting edge in St. Paul for American descendants of chattel slavery. Oh, we've gone back and forth, and I shared with you some of the concerns, and you said, I'm going to come on here and make it plain and make it straight as to whom the reparations is for. We had the great privilege of sitting in on your esteemed city council meeting for the very first time. Everyone was watching with bated breath.
Mm-hmm.
And we love the way you led the charge there, and they gave you so much acknowledgement about the work you've laid the groundwork for this to take place there. And it was great to see your name in lights. And then we saw several other people bless the mic. And it got confusing because we didn't hear the language we've grown accustomed to. You know, we've been in this for a minute, and we didn't hear American Freedmen enough. We heard the one lady, and several other people seem to believe that those who descend from the Rondo descendants, it felt like everything was flat. Black was flat, African American was flat, Rondo descendants was flat. And so, you know, they come to me because they're like, who is this for? So I said, let me bring you here because there was a lot of mixed stuff going on at the council meeting. I think one man, as I mentioned to you, we felt, you know, he had it because he came and he blessed the mic and he stood 10 toes down for Freedmen. And we're like, oh my God, we heard our people, our lineage. And so we were excited over the one brother who was like, I don't really know what all this other stuff is about, but I'm here for Freedmen. I think he said Freedmen or Black Americans, something that made us feel like he was speaking our language. But the other people were quite confusing. And then I saw a couple of links you sent me, and I got even a little bit more confused because Rondo descendants, I mean, Rondo was named for some French man. And it was a bunch of white folks and all these other groups, Jews and all these other groups that were actually originated the town, the Rondo, what you guys refer to as Rondo descendants. And so I got even more confused because we didn't come until much later, which of course, once we came, here comes all the ways they legislate and tether us to the bottom of the Titanic. So let me just have you address that, because when I was looking over the materials, I didn't see a timeline for which this study is supposed to go. It felt like HR 40 a little bit, where they really didn't put a time on when the proposals would actually be finalized. And so let's just let's eat the elephant one bite at a time. Can you please share with me, how do you define whom this particular reparations task force is there to benefit?
This is there to benefit the American descendants of chattel slavery. And that's what it says in the ordinance. That's what it says in the companion report. And that makes it lineage based. Rondo is 50% of the Black people in St. Paul at one time lived in Rondo and was forced to live in Rondo. So when people say like, I'm a descendant of Rondo, that would be like people saying, I'm a descendant of Black Wall Street or something, you know, so they're like historical markers, just like Wall Street, you know, majority Black town, but there was Native Americans there. There was Jews there. But so when Black people were in the majority of Black people, like my mother, grandpa, my uncle, just a lot of the people that you heard testify, they all lived in Rondo, worked in Rondo, owned the property in Rondo. And then when the freeway came through, like in a lot of other municipalities with like urban renewal projects and stuff, it displaced Rondo's black residents. And not in the difference between the black residents, we had racial covenants in place. So you can look at mapping St. Paul, and that shows where those racial covenants was. And then they have Jim Crow of the North in Minneapolis that shows where those racial covenants were. So for the black residents of Rondo to get displaced, it was different than as opposed to some of the few whites who lived in Rondo who were displaced when the freeway was there.
So the Reparations Task Force is specifically for American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery.
Yeah, and Rondo is a part of that, not the whole thing. So Rondo's like in the St. Paul urban midway, but then the east side is as big as, has a population as big as Duluth. Shout out to my homegirl Daniel that lets us know about that too. But so that's so it's for all of St. Paul. But Rondo is like a historical marker for the city of St. Paul in the state of Minnesota when it talks about blacks being displaced by the freeway. Like the Duluth lynching is also another historical marker here. It's in Minnesota.
I see. Okay, Frank, I see you, fam, busy in the chat. Thank you, co-host. Hi, Gwen XOXO. I see you, fam. You guys, I'm going to get to your chats and we can address everything with TRAHERN, who is spearheading St. Paul reparations, because we have action items and things. And I know you guys want to feel confident in putting the full breadth and depth of your muscle behind this. And I know we've been duped, and it's been a real challenge to get a grasp on a lot of the reparations commissions throughout the country. But TRAHERN is here to clear it up, and I promise we will get to your questions. So please chat amongst yourselves while I get through the series of questions that are heaviest on people's minds from observing the council. In effect, will you have a process? And I didn't see it in the ordinance, but is there going to be like how will you find the descendants who were displaced by the freeway, who was displaced by institutional systemic racism? How will you actually find those who suffered those harms to make sure the reparations gets to them directly?
So St. Paul, even after Rondo, was a very close-knit community. So a lot of people know each other and things like that. So once this starts going out, people will start coming to find out about it. But so that's one process. And then there's like we have all the addresses from Rondo. We have all the businesses from Rondo. We have all that stuff is in the historical society. So we can pull all that information up and find those people.
Okay, very good. So there will be a system in place where you can track the folks that were displaced to make sure they get the reparations. It won't go to people who are currently living in Rondo. Did you guys come up, because I didn't see it in the ordinance, I may have missed it. Did you guys have a time period for the harms? Like out here in California, it appears that we're still working on that, but they definitely are. Now, I recommend that, they're kind of focused on people who are living here presently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's lineage based, but they're really trying to focus on people who were harmed in housing discrimination, like specific harms. I'm fighting for everyone who was legislated out since AB 3121 was signed, and for those of us who are living out the vestiges of the historical accounting of the 5 major aspects that they believe they need to appropriate damages. For example, housing discrimination, they said they would appropriate, well, the calculation is $223,000. But there's 5 areas that they've decided they've got to calculate harms. We've got about 7 more months left. So my thing is, you can't just focus. If I haven't suffered housing discrimination, it doesn't mean I wasn't directly impacted. Like, say I experienced discrimination in the workplace. Say I experienced discrimination because they want to tell me, who was U.S. born, that I have to know Spanish just to get a job interview. And even when I speak it as fluently as Pedro, I don't have the complexion for the protection. And so they're finding ways out here to cause harm to us to this day. As a matter of fact, we've been legislated down from 6.5 million to around 2 million as a result of the legislation and these policies that cater to immigrants and leave American freedmen who descend from U.S. chattel slavery to their own devices. It's very, very difficult, no matter how degreed you are, to get a leg up here in the state. So my thing is, how are you taking care of the people who are American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery that are still living in Rondo or St. Paul? They are living with the vestiges of all those issues that predate their being there, but they pay taxes to the city. They do every manner of thing to try to survive. What are you doing for that group of people who may not have been directly harmed?
So we haven't. The first commission, the first work was just to set up the ordinance and the commission. So some of the questions you're asking is going to be the work of the next committee that's going to be seated very soon. And that committee will make short-term, medium, and long-term recommendations, and then start, like how you was talking about, finding ways to find people and things like that. So what the Legislative Advisory Committee did was create the ordinance and the companion report. The next commission is start making the recommendations on how to give the funds. But I know looking at the survey, it says make direct payments to Rondo descendants, and then there's like broader policies for people who live in the Rondo area now that could happen. So like more like making investments in housing, just trying to. The survey covers it, but I don't want to say too much because the next commission will do that. But there's direct for the descendants of Rondos. There will be direct things for them, and then I think, but I'm just saying how I would see it based on how we have our survey, investments in the Rondo community and things like that.
Okay. The Rondo community. Hi, Yair. I see you, fam. Rondo community. That's St. Paul, right?
Right.
Okay. Those terms are used interchangeably, right?
And to an extent, so Rondo is a certain area of St. Paul.
I see.
That was harmed by the freeway specifically. So there were a strong, mostly black businesses, mostly black homeowners, and the free I-94 was pushed through there, and they were given pennies on the dollars for their houses and businesses in this purse. So that's why people talk about Rondo specifically. But the St. Paul Recovery Act is for black people throughout the city of St. Paul. So it's not just about Rondo, it's about even the east side, black people on the west side, in the Highland area too.
Now, once again, how are you defining black? Because I've shared on my broadcast often out here, 8 years ago, African blacks were 300% more liquid than American freedmen. U.S. black is what they termed it in the Color of Wealth LA report. Mm-hmm. And in brass numbers, that means African black was 60,000 liquid compared to U.S. black $200 liquid. And that was 8 years ago, pre the pandemic.
Right.
I guess my question for you would be, we don't believe that any of this fixes us if it becomes like everybody, all the blacks get it. Because if you give blacks who are already 500% more liquid, like I think nationally, black immigrants are $72,000 liquid. Um, well, their wealth position is around 72K. To US black throughout the nation, it's around $1,400.
Right.
So I'm concerned, as well as my subbies, we're concerned that if you say black or you say African American, that means people who migrated here. And if they get the same things we get, we're still on the bottom. You follow?
Yes. So this is directly from the ordinance. Section 1 is the purpose. And I think that's what we're talking about is the St. Paul Recovery Act Community Reparations Commission, hereinafter referred to as the Commission, serves as an advisory body to the mayor and the city council on repairing the damage caused by public and private systemic racism in the city of St. Paul, which resulted in racial disparities in generational wealth, home ownership, healthcare, education, employment, and pay and fairness within the criminal justice system among the American descendants of chattel slavery. So that's, to me, that's saying who that's for, is for the American descendants of chattel slavery. And so that's what makes it lineage based.
Okay, I'm over here on the ordinance. I don't see where you're reading from. I'm sorry.
That's at the very top.
Okay, under which tab? Resolutions?
No, that's the resolution. So that's resolution 2177, and that apologized for Holden Dred Scott military slavery at Fort Snelling, apologized for the destruction of the Roundel community via the I-94 freeway, and apologized for St. Paul's role in practicing institutional racism against its black residents, and commits to building generational wealth for the American descendants of chattel slavery. And that's languages in the that resolution and in this ordinance. So, I've seen other ordinance, but to me, I haven't seen anything this specific as to who this is designed for. I mean, California, but the word American descendant of chattel slavery, that term is in our actual ordinance as.
Yes, it's saying committing to racial healing through the exploration of reparations for American descendants of chattel slavery living in St. Paul. That's in the title on Resolution 2177. Is what you were reading on this particular site, or is it?
Yep, it would be that's the actual ordinance that will be voted on the floor. So if you go to the back where it says, to the bottom where it says community notices, and then it says Reparations Commission ordinance. Proposal draft.
Notices. Okay. I guess I'm not on the right. I don't think I'm in the right area because I see another resolution 21886.
Yep, that was the seating of the Legislative Advisory Committee.
Okay. Apologize, its participation. Yeah, I see that part. I guess I'm trying to find where you're reading from specifically, because
if you go under 20, if you keep going down after 21/886.
21.8. Okay.
It'll say community notices. It's all the way to the bottom though.
Okay. Community notices. Okay, let me share my screen because I don't think I'm looking in the right place. Hold on. Who knows, honey? Okay, let me go. I'm gonna go back up to, this is the ordinance, the resolutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see resolution 21-77 and then 21-886. And you say keep scrolling down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see contact us.
Okay, that might be the wrong page then, I think. This is, I could put it in the chat.
Okay. All right. So that means that if you are a Black immigrant, you can't you can't capitalize on this opportunity because it is specifically for us, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's
And
good to know. Now, another thing I think I read somewhere, I don't remember where it was. I'm sorry, but I was reading about the commission. First, I think I need to get clear on the difference between. Oh, let me stop that. I need to get clear on the difference between. Hi Diane. I need to get clear on the difference between the St. Paul Recovery Act and the Reparations Commission. Are these two separate groups that are going to be deciding on what the reparations is going to be? I'm confused between the city council's involvement and the St. Paul Recovery Act and the Reparations Commission. Can you? Are they the same thing?
the St. Paul is called, this ordinance is going to establish the St. Paul Recovery Act Reparations Commission. So it's called the St. Paul Recovery Act Reparations Commission. The group that created it was the Legislative Advisory Committee that met for a year, and they created the ordinance, which came up with the purpose, how many members, how long the terms will be, the scope of work, budget, and so that's basically the ordinance.
Okay, so you're saying the city council that we saw giving you glowing praise for your work?
So they're the ones who are going to vote January 4th on the bill. The Legislative Advisory Committee was a community-led effort of 13 members from the community. Professor Yahuru Williams was a convener, Veronica Burke, and myself. Then it had
You're buffering a little bit.
other members from the community who were picked by the city council. That the Legislative Advisory Committee made the ordinance and the companion report forth. And then that will make, once this passed, this will be a permanent part of St. Paul's government. So it's it's a permanent part of the city of St. Paul's government, this Reparations Commission. So we'll be looking at future budgets and things like that.
Okay. So this legislative body, how many U.S. descendants of chattel slavery were a part of what went into the ordinance and getting that together?
I would say it was 80% U.S. chattel slavery out of the 13.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you, it appears that somewhere, I guess it's hard for me to get a timeline as to the beginning and the end, because you mentioned that the commission is going to be changing. And I think this particular commission was there for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw somewhere that another commission is coming and they've got 2-year terms, but they can overlap.
Yeah, so there's going to be like a 3-year term, a 2-year term, and then a 1-year term, I think. So that just so that the terms stagger and that people keep changing on it. But there are going to be term limits on how long people can serve on it.
Yes, I guess my concern is out here, we have proposals due by I want to say June or July of this upcoming year. So it's pretty much been a 2-year process. And I found it a real challenge to have people that are Pan-Africanist, because we really got into a tug of war over, we had to really fight for lineage-based reparations. We barely eked it out by one vote. Stephen Bradford's vote broke that tie. But for his vote, we'd be in a real big quagmire out here, because even though we had Chemerinsky testify that if you do this based on race, it's going to get caught up in the Supreme Court because of Prop 209, they got rid of our affirmative actions out here. And even Dr. Shirley Weber, the author of the bill, she came to a hearing and said, no, if this is to benefit all Blacks, my people will only get about 50 cents. And we've already got a huge gap between us and the Black immigrants that are here. You know, love y'all, but no, this is specific. So even though that happened, right, we had Don Tamaki, who is Asian, and we had one Caribbean who was a Pan-Africanist, and we had, I don't know what Grills is, she might be Freedmen, and then we had Reginald Jones Sawyer, who's Freedmen. Even though they knew that information, they total sabotaged and said, we vote for race-based reparations. Like, they really undermined us, and it was really hurtful. Yeah. And it's been bitter, because it feels to me like there's a lot of people that show up to our hearings to continue to try to argue for race-based reparations, even though they clearly know it's going to undermine our efforts. So when I was reading that, anybody can pretty much, from the community, can pretty much serve. I don't understand how education on who we are isn't a factor, or salaries aren't a factor. I don't understand why people that aren't descendants of U.S. chattel slavery get to decide what our reparations should be like. I feel like that's going to set it up to, number one, go for way too long, like with no end in sight. And I know that you want them to be paid, but our task force is not paid. They're scholars in whatever the professions they are. They were handpicked by the governor and elected officials, and, you know, people that kind of know the history and know how to put together economists to determine the harm, to appropriate damages to that harm. And so when I read that gays and immigrants and all these various people, income notwithstanding, education notwithstanding, get to be paid to sit on the commission, it reminds me a lot of HR 40. HR 40 has pretty much locked us out. They won't be showing the hearings live. They will be getting about $20 million to study us into perpetuity. They didn't put a timeline on it. They want it for all Blacks because Pan-Africanists are running it, and they don't want any cash. So my question to you, I know that was a long, drawn-out thing, but these are things that kind of make me go, how is this going to work if anyone other than Freedmen, who's educated about our history, who knows math and how to appropriate what those damages should be, how is that going to morph into something real and tangible to remedy the harms to the St. Paul people?
We had a companion report that came with it. So it says the Reparations Legislative Advisory Committee envisions the work of the St. Paul Recovery Act Community Reparations Commission will be to ensure delivery of reparations to the members of the American descendants of chattel slavery, ADOX community, and to establish the well-being. And it talks about the kind of people that we want on it, and it wants people who have lived experience, people who know about the racial wealth gap and how reparations is the answer for addressing the racial wealth gap and addressing the harms of U.S. chattel slavery. The the characteristics basically describe Black people who descend from U.S. chattel slavery.
I see. So, who is going to vet those people? Will you be responsible for vetting those people, or some type of committee in place to determine that they've got the brain trust and that they've got what it takes?
And I think that's why we have some of the most solid language in the ordinance right now. Again, we have lineage language from the beginning in our ordinance, in companion report, in resolution. But our application process, so Detroit reached out to us about our application process. Michigan reached out to us about our application process. So that's what helps us see what people know about reparations and certain, where there's good questions in the application. And that kind of lets you understand who the people are that are applying to sit on the commission.
I see. Okay, so it will be us making the decisions, not all these agents of chaos who don't have that experience. But what are you guys going to do about when does this end? Because I didn't see anything alluding to when the proposals are due, so that people can start, voting on whatever the remedies are. When does it end? Because it seems to me like you're going to have people being paid with no end in sight. Can you share that?
Well, I mean, when you say paid, it's not like these are like stipends for attending a meeting twice a month.
Twice a month.
Yeah. So it's not like, they're making millions of dollars or thousands of, there's some change, and then locally here, just the city of St. Paul, if you sit on a commission for police brutality, you get paid. If you sit on a commission for housing, you get a stipend. So it would be kind of discriminatory for us to say we want all Black people to sit on a commission and then not give them a stipend, but give white people a stipend to study the wells or whatever. So
thank you for that clarity.
And then, so yeah, that's I think we're really excited about the ordinance. But as far as what you're saying is about it being open-ended, we don't think this is something that we can just hurry up and get done. There's an urgency, so that's why we have short-term, medium, and long-term recommendations. And we know that there's some money right now that's unique here in Minnesota and also in California, all throughout the country, our ARP funds. So we sent a letter to the mayor, and the next committee will see that too, to the mayor and city council, saying that some of those ARP funds should be set aside for possibly direct cash payments and other reparations programming. So, and just like this $1.7 trillion that's coming down from that Biden just signed with $105 billion going to Ukraine, we should be seeing how, once that hits states and municipalities, how could those be put into reparations payments or programming and things like that, where there's these commissions set up already.
Yes, I guess I'm a little challenged with, the one commission is just finishing up. Then there's 3-year, 2-year. Like when you add that up, that's about 6 years with I don't know if the people of St. Paul can hang on that long. That's been my issue with California reparations.
Well, I think that you're going to hear things coming out in 2023, so they're going to the next committee is going to get seated, and that short-term recommendation will probably come out in a matter of months. So it's not really, this doesn't say create a study or a report. They make a work plan, and then that's when you're going to see, where recommendations will start coming out.
Okay. Let me see what the chat is doing over here. Okay, so let's see here. Frank says, if I'm correct, it's for the FBA lineage. Okay, we go by a million different terms, right?
Yeah.
FBA is American Freedmen is B1. If you bleed chattel slavery, that's what it means. So if I'm correct, it's for the FBA lineage. That's how the ordinance was written. Check out the ordinance. St. Paul got it right now. They need to follow through with that check. Did you want to respond?
I agree. I think we do got it right now. And it's lineage based. He may say FBA. We're using the committee is legislatively, again, one of the only bodies to pass something using that term. 2177 was passed using American descendants of chattel slavery. 21866 was passed using American descendant of chattel slavery. And these are the St. Paul City Council is a body of government. And this ordinance is co-sponsored by all 7 city council members and will be voted on January 4th. So the St. Paul City Council members themselves who have to vote on this have actually co-sponsored, all 7 members have co-sponsored the St. Paul Recovery Act Reparations Ordinance that will be voted on January 4th. And it's lineage based.
Wonderful. Frank goes on to say, I checked it out. That original steering committee member, Jeremy English, came in with work, and he was on point. He said all foundational Black Americans will get a check in St. Paul. Have you guys decided, TRAHERN, that there will be cash payments to those who descend from U.S. chattel slavery? And if so, it seems too early to assess for how much. Could you speak on it?
So that was the recommendation that came from the Legislative Advisory Committee, that some of those funds be put up for possible direct cash payments. But like you said, it's too early for that as far as calculation, and then the next committee is going to have to do that, do that work though.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm just going to the pertinent comments so I don't detain you. Okay. I already delayed your 40 minutes. So sorry about that. Yes, Frank, HR 40 is trash. Once again, to let you guys know, you're talking about our politicians who are already paid a very handsome salary, plus money they get kicked down from different lobbyists and things of this nature to undermine American freedmen, wanting $20 million to study us into perpetuity. And they want it for all Blacks, which we know will be challenged at the Supreme Court level, akin to what happened to the Black farmers when Joe Crow gave them relief from the COVID funds. They got the least. White folks got billions. And American freedmen, descendants, of U.S. chattel slavery, they got like 8.5 million.
Right.
And because they received 8.5 million of COVID debt relief. I mean, everybody got more than us. I want to say the Asians got 17 million. The Hispanics got 100 million. And we got a paltry 8.5 million. And the lion's share of that 20 billion set aside went to whites. And do you know whites and immigrants, before they would see us have a dime of that COVID relief to hold on to our modicum of farms? I mean, we have a paltry number of acres that we're working with since they've legislated us out of our farms. These whites and these immigrants appealed to the Supreme Court to say that you cannot give this money to the Black farmers who were getting the least. You cannot give this money based on race. Did you want to weigh in, TRAHERN?
And I just want to relay that to something that happened here in the past legislative session that Representative John Thompson brought up, that they had a farm bill and they had money for like the Latino farmers and they had money for Asian farmers. And then they was said, I think possibly African, but I think it was just BIPOC. So when you do BIPOC, then the Latino and the Asian farmers can dip into that pot, but then there's no separate pot for just black or American descendant of chattel slavery farmers. So that's why that lineage piece is so important when we're dealing with reparations, but also even just with contract procurement and other issues. So disaggregation is really important too as we continue to do this work.
I love it. He says, this sounds good as long as all FBA people get paid in St. Paul, Minnesota. Hi, BB. I see you, fam. She says the exclusion of others must be emphasized. Only Freedmen descendants suffered social and institutionalized racial terror. That flat blackness must be removed. Amen.
Great.
Okay. Yeah, the 6-year commission is a little concerning. They got to tighten that up, TRAHERN. We don't have 6 years or more.
Right.
They gotta do it in 2. And if we can do it in 2, they can do it in 2. So you need to stress that. That's not going to work. There are several political racial economists, along with several foundations, that have done the study and produced the findings on reparations and the need for immediate payouts. What's the holdup? Would you like to respond?
I would say the holdup is the political will for us to get Congress and Joe Biden to act. The Democrats just had the House, they had the Senate, and they had the executive office, and we didn't get anything. But we went out and voted for them, and we got nothing in return. And if we keep doing that, we're going to keep getting nothing in return. Malcolm said, you put them first and they put you last. And so that's the holdup. We keep voting for people who keep putting our justice claim last. So we have to hurry up and make sure that they put us first.
Would you say, for me out here, we found a bill that was already in existence, got to work on the bill, made the edits, befriended the co-author to get those edits through. And so lots of people are like, no to state reparations. But to me, federal repair, I mean, who knows when or if it will ever come. To me, since Mr. George Floyd was executed, I say create the legislation in the way that you guys clearly have done, or find the bill and get your edits through, because it's going to happen whether you're at the table or on the menu. Would you like to speak to why state-based repair is imperative? Like, well, we don't have time.
We don't have time. And look at Mississippi. They got ARP funds, but there's nobody looking at the budget with a reparatory justice lens, saying this much money should go to the American descendants of chattel slavery. So that money, if they would have looked at what it's supposed to be used for, it would have went to places like Mississippi. California has a surplus budget right now. Minnesota has the biggest surplus budget of $17.6 billion right now, but we have the biggest racial wealth gap, one of the biggest racial wealth gaps in the country. So when you talk about state repair, we could use some of that $17.6 billion to specifically focus on freedmen, FBA, American descendants of chattel slavery. Likewise, in the state of California, we could use that money could be used for repair for American freedmen, and there's other states with that. Not just those, the federal dollars, that the money that's coming from the feds down to the states, like we were just talking about, that 1.7 trillion can start being used for reparations payments and reparations programming. So local, state, and federal, public and private reparations need to happen, but we got to keep the pressure on them too, though.
Absolutely. And for me, it feels more immediate, like we'll get more immediate resolutions. What do you think about, well, it seems to me like we're calling everything reparations. What do you think about atonement different terminology like that, because it seems to me like everybody's lobbing on to this idea of reparations since we made it relevant, right? What do you think about referencing it as atonement? What are your thoughts around that? Or you're fixed on reparations and it's well with your soul?
It's really well with my soul. I think because I think we got to keep fighting for it. Like, we're the ones who made this hot, and we got to quit letting people benefit off our work. We want solidarity based on the terms of equality. So we can have solidarity, but there has to be equality. We can't just, if we keep we started the civil rights movement, everybody else benefits off of it but us. Now we started the reparations movement, everybody's going to benefit off it but us. So we shouldn't let people rob us of our inheritance, basically, of our labor and stuff politically like that. Also, and I went to the Million Man March. So there's 8 steps to atonement. Acknowledgement, admit somebody did you wrong, harm, but then the 5th step of atonement is reparations. So it's, we just gotta keep it plain. We're fighting for atonement is reparations, and we don't need to change the language. We just need to let them know that it's lineage based.
Yes.
And who it's for, at the local, state, and federal level, public and private too.
And I've already shared with you guys thank you for that explanation. I already shared with you guys in a prior broadcast, was it yesterday? I showed you how they're giving reparations in some of these sectors where, we live, to everybody.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to tell you is that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And that's what's happening, where you see whites who are being set up with reparations because they're doing it based on, where you rank in terms of poverty. They're doing an all lives matter kind of thing on the reparations. And you could check out that episode from yesterday.
Okay.
But we really have to understand that we need immediate solutions. We don't have time for the government. And I've already shared with you guys, until you punish the Democrats for several election cycles by voting closed border and American first candidates only, party be damned, you've got nothing coming. All of this withholding the vote is politically lazy. All of this voting blue, no matter who, to our own peril, erasure, and replacement. That's what you're doing when you don't get political education and you don't weaponize the vote.
Right.
Okay. What are your thoughts, TRAHERN?
I definitely think we have to weaponize our vote. Like we just was saying, we just had Biden had the House, they had a super majority and we got nothing. And we went to the polls in record number. We just gave them Georgia again. And there's no reparations commission popping there. So especially like places like Atlanta where you have a black city council, places like Mississippi where you have these black, it should be happening. Louisiana, Mississippi. We need to have it. It needs to get started.
Absolutely. Thank you. BB says, so the blatant erasure is there in legislation, local and federal. We must push against this ASAP. Yes.
Exactly.
That appears to be, he's here. He's cleared it up. It's lineage based. We've addressed that we'd like the term limits shortened. Yeah. We'd like a deadline on those proposals. And we want Freedmen to decide, Freedmen with the acumen to decide what our reparations should look like. We don't want all these random people like we've got down here. They're not really random, but sort of kind of like what we've been going through is just, wow.
It shouldn't have been 5-4 on the vote, I know.
Yeah, well, we did our best and it's still, and I think it was because the initial language is what tripped us up. They're going back to the initial language of that bill before we put in our stuff. And it was still ambiguous, even after we got our edits pushed through, because basically it was written as if those of us who descend from U.S. chattel slavery should be considered first. Like that left a lot of room for Black immigrants to be considered. And that was what was problematic with AB 3121.
Okay. Wow. Yep. And then we got to keep learning, and so when we do it again, when we write it from the beginning, we write it specific with the language correct from the get go.
Well, you certainly did that. And I know that you know Camila Moore, Chair Moore.
Yes.
I definitely would run everything past her. She's beautiful and brilliant, and she's been so instrumental in holding the Freedmen line for us out here in California as our chairwoman. That's the biggest blessing to ever happen to the California Reparations Task Force.
Very, very proud of her. She's very beautiful, very brilliant, all of that. And we'll be in touch with her about running some of this stuff.
Because she can help you refine it and make sure it's airtight. I would rely on her. Let's see here. No Time in Mississippi has something stop order for Jackson County and local town. Oh, No Time in Mississippi has water. Is that what that is, BB? I don't know these little symbols. Stop order for Jackson County and local townships. I don't know what that means, honey. Unpack that.
As he's saying, you can't drink the water right now, or is there a problem with the? I mean, we know there's a problem with the water, but is it another
crises brewing? Yeah, I need her to unpack that. Frank Weezy says, outstanding broadcast tonight. Good work.
If you watch the rebroadcast to this, please donate to this program. Angela's doing great work right here on the Reparations Perspective. So support this broadcast financially also.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yay. Bless the broadcast so we can bring you more awesome content concerning American freedmen, descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. Thank you for that. We're going to get to your action items momentarily. Young Deity, peace to the FBA noble women. Thank you. And Jen, thank you. Just Me, I see you, fam. Lineage based. Okay, we are the ones with slave owner last names. No one talks about that. Well, to me, that's a very good point. Just Me. The bottom line is it's not hard to find who we are.
Exactly.
And they like to pretend, but to me and TRAHERN, I really hope you hear me when I tell you this nugget. Don't make it hard for the people, and don't spend a gang of money trying to trace it. If they can show a grandparent or a mom once or twice removed that have Negro, like my birth certificate have Negro, or color on there. I think even some go back to mulatto. Just have them show up. And then, of course, I'm sharing this with you as well, that I intend to share with our task force. So these people with the one drop of descendant of U.S. chattel slavery can't come and claim reparations after capitalizing on designated whiteness in this country. Another thing for you to take back is that they must have identified as Black or African American in the last 2 census cycles, okay?
Yes.
That along with a birth certificate, because some Caribbean immigrants have our last names as well. So you can't just go solely on last name. That would include the Black immigrants who, like I said, are far wealthier than us in our own country.
Yes.
But those are 2 things that to me makes it easy to identify who's who. Your thoughts on that?
No, we do want to make it, and that's even with the people from the Holocaust Claims Conference said the same thing that you said, what you just said. So that's right in line with what we've been hearing from them too. So don't make it hard.
Don't make it hard, and don't spend a gang of money doing all this genealogy. It's a waste of money.
Yeah,
that money could be used to pay American freedmen.
Agreed.
It's really simple. If you can do those 2 things, whatever goodies come of it should be yours. ATL is still ran by white supremacists. Well, I like to say that white supremacy in this country is Crayola. You see, the Europeans who were our slave owners, because their numbers start to be impacted. They made the Irish white, the Jews white, the Asians white, the Latinos white, based on skin tone.
Yeah.
That's the way they distinguish who gets to be advanced in this country, who gets to be
Right.
American. And so they're doing all of this as a social construct to keep us bottom caste, simply because of our skin color. And it's happening all over the world, where if you've got this color or darker, you have been designated a life of hardship.
Exactly.
And if they want to grow their numbers and if they want to rob us of our reparations, they just make the next group white. And those people are happy, family, to be designated white. Why? Because they get to play both sides of the aisle. They get to be people of color for affirmative action and fill up all those buckets so that by the time we show up, we're left with barely crumbs off the floor.
Exactly.
And then they like to benefit from whiteness when it's time to buy homes and get business loans and things of this nature. All of it is our reparations.
Exactly.
Did you want to weigh in, TRAHERN?
I would just say, what, kind of following up off what you were saying, white supremacy is an ideology that supersedes race. So, what happened right there in LA when you seen them behind closed doors talking about the blacks? We got to see that in real time. So that just goes back to what you're saying. People benefiting from whiteness, even if they're those buffer classes taking on that white supremacy ideology, but actually it has harmful impacts, like you see, social, political, and economic ramifications, like redlining and like affecting the racial wealth gap too.
Absolutely, fam. And that's what it's all about, because capitalism requires a bottom caste. And they decided, as they were putting the country together off of our ancestors' heinous chattel slavery, that because they couldn't expatriate us to parts unknown in the world, like Africa and the Caribbean, you see, they intended to use us as the shoes to live off the land of milk and honey. And we went on and became 60 million.
Right.
So this is what the problem is. And they've been coming up with ways. This is not new. They've been doing this for eons. And so they don't have to call you ninja no more. Okay. They just legislate your ninja-ness. Okay.
Right.
You get legislated as a ninja now.
Exactly.
And so we're saying, TRAHERN, me, the Contemporary Reparations Grassroots Movement, my co-hosts, those of you tuning in, that we coming up off this bottom. And yeah, we're kind of playing catch up and they get a few tricks up by us. But look at how TRAHERN learned to make it lineage based off of what we went through, a serious battle for about a year just to get to lineage based repair. Whereas had our bill and our legislation been succinct, like what he's putting out here, we would not have, that would not have had to have been a fight. Did you want to weigh in?
No, I remember watching that. So I don't want to, just really want to salute Camilla and the others for holding their ground on that. Cause I was watching that as it was happening. It was even like, wow, but I'm glad that set the precedent for the rest of the country. So we just got to keep fighting and organizing too. So that's why, even with this here, the 21st, I knew it was going to be close to Christmas and stuff like that. We was thinking maybe around MLK Day a little more. We was like, no, we need to get this done and get moving on this. So there's no setbacks or interruptions. And then also, I just think, and I know we want economists and things like that, but even because we, people like yourself, people like Dawn, we think outside the box. We're still kind of grassroots. So I just let's just continue to let
the process unfold.
Yeah, but don't, there's going to be others that might try to get in front of it and slow it down and stuff. Kind of what happened in California. So let's just keep organizing and keep pushing forward and don't get frustrated. And we're going to get this done.
Amen to that. I'm sorry. they busy tonight. Compromise Coons are running all major cities. There, there is obstacle course. Absolutely, family. We've got all skin folk and kinfolk. And you do have people that are paid to undermine our efforts, especially the Congressional Black Caucus, Sheila Jackson Lee, who will not even allow us a seat at our own reparations table, won't
Mm.
even entertain our edits. Yeah, and that's a federal fight, right? So we're trying to get you paid on the state, and then we're pushing hard on feds too. Like we've got both happening at the same time. It's epic and it's rich.
And that should be added into the language too. That this does, like I think you brought that up last week, that it doesn't interfere with federal reparations, but also
Yes,
that
that's critical.
that even so in St. Paul, it even ours actually made our city council members advocates for reparations. So you would see some of them testify at the state level hearing and things like that, and to promote reparations throughout the city and state too. So, and advocate for federal reparations too.
Yeah, you must, family, for those of you who are looking to get busy in your respective locales, please, please, please do as we did with AB 3121. We made sure that the state repair does not usurp or trump what comes federally. If you don't have that specific language in your legislation, then the government the feds are going to do everything in their power to say, well, that's it and that's all. We don't have to remedy you because there's nowhere in the language where you made it plain. You know, these Mickey Fickies have been up for 400 years working to undermine us. And we're just now really waking up since Barack Obama said no to reparations, right?
Right. Mm.
That's when I got busy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some of you guys are far more seasoned than me, and I'll be the first to say I'm learning a lot under your tutelage. But when I saw Barack Obama bail out Wall Street and Main Street and left us to lose over half of our wealth, our homes, and then was no to reparations, after I voted for him twice, I knew I had to get more politically educated.
Yeah.
So, did you want to weigh on that?
After the first time, I couldn't vote for him no more.
Good for you.
I was scarred by that things I seen happening. So I was, and like you said, the reparations comment and stuff like that. I was like, oh no, this isn't.
Yeah, he waited till he was almost out to pull that.
Right.
He wasn't talking that ish when he was preaching hope and change.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, it's a lack of political education that had me vote for him a second time, because folks were duping me into believing, well, it took Bush 8 years to drive it into a dish. You need to give him 8 years to pull us out. And then they kept swearing up and down, well, he can't work on our behalf in front of white folks, but when he gets out of office, he's going to be about that life.
Yeah.
We still waiting for him to be about that life.
Well, yeah, and he can't do nothing for there's not nothing he can really do anymore for us, because he's not the
in charge.
Exactly. So, and that's
they always want to sit up here and say, oh, well, you guys don't get to the polls during the midterms, and so we only had 2 years, or whatever the lie or the excuse is. Well, you had 2 years, bro. You had 18 months. You had that. You had a trifecta, just like now.
Yep.
Joe Crow had a trifecta. He gave billions and is still giving money and aid to Ukraine.
Yep.
He gave AAPI our reparations. He's spending our reparations on illegals.
Exactly.
All the while pretending that Black folks don't want to work. Like, we built the country. Exactly. What do you mean? We know that if we don't work, we don't eat. So it's all these antics that they're doing after 86% of our electorate delivered them the White House. And Joe Crow said, you have my back and I'll have yours. All I've seen is a hip hop holiday and a Juneteenth that we were already celebrating. Symbols. And you think because you put Black faces in office that that's our reparations? It's highly offensive.
No.
What are your thoughts?
we can't eat symbolism. So we
Seriously.
need tangibles from the Biden administration. But in a couple of weeks, he'll be a lame duck. So I mean, I won't say a lame duck, but it's going to be harder for him to do things. They'll be able to make excuses why he can't do things for us when we know he could do executive orders and get other things done. But even here at the local level in Minnesota, now we have a supermajority. So we have the governor's office. Not we, but the Democrats have the governor's office. They have the Senate and they have the House. So we should see transformative legislation pass this session here in Minnesota. And anywhere else, there should be no excuses where those who Black people voted into office don't receive tangibles.
Well, TRAHERN, I'm going to give you another little nugget of mine. Please, please, please find your Black Republicans.
Okay.
They want that Black vote. And this is why Joe Crow and his administration is flooding the country. They're lying. They keep saying it's only 2 million that they've allowed over those borders. They just dropped off several busloads to Kamala's house for a second time. I've done archives where I clearly show the immigrants in their broken English say the border is sitting wide open. And they're doing this to not only suppress and oppress us economically to guarantee we can't come up off the bottom, they're coming for our vote now. So I highly, highly encourage you and the rest of Twitter, Facebook, and ScrewTube tuning in to get to your Black conservatives and build alliances with them to get reparations done on a federal level.
Yeah.
Because just like it was the Republic Land, Abraham Lincoln, that gave us, well, after we fought and won the Civil War, he granted us emancipation. Understand that we fought and won it, so it wasn't given to us.
Right.
Our people died for that right.
That's right.
To be emancipated. And do understand, Lincoln is not a hero. It was all about economics and beating the South economically. And he wanted us gone.
Yes.
So he emancipated us and then wanted to send us to parts unknown. So please, he's not a hero.
Right.
And I've got some excellent news for you guys. I was so happy one of my comrades wrote me today. USSC, I don't know what that acronym stands for, says 42 stays in place until it can be debated next session. That's another victory. So they're going to have arguments February, March, and a decision in June. So what that means, family, is that we're winning. These conservatives, I know the Democrats love to demonize them, but I've already showed you in the archives that what Joe Crow and Kabami have done to our lineage to undermine and keep us oppressed for 60 years pales in comparison to what Donald Trump did to American freedmen in the short 4 years that he was in office. And we have got to get beyond, it ain't a party thing.
That's
it's
right.
a freedman flourishing thing. And y'all have got to stop this nonsense, because if it weren't for that conservative court deciding that they're going to put a stay on this, you got them folks right now at that border. I've already shown you in the archives, waiting for Title 42 to be lifted. If it was not for those conservatives, they would be busing these people in. And where are they dropping them? Not in the white and wealthy immigrant neighborhoods. They're bringing them right to the Black communities and giving them housing, food stamps, things we got to fight for. They're giving away the farm, jobs, driver licenses, in many instances, giving them the right to vote. Family, you can't just have your eye on reparations. You have to understand the ethno-genocidal plans by the Democrats to erase and replace us. Go ahead, TRAHERN. I see you trying to jump in.
What you're saying makes me think about Eric Adams and some of his comments just about how, I think they were busing people up there.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying I support that policy or anything, but just looking at his response to it, and he started talking about how it puts strain on the services, of the city. So,
yeah, but he's singing a different tune. So you have to look at things with your third eye family.
Right.
He's singing a different tune because he wants our federal reparations dollars to house and give these people a leg up. You've got illegals demanding $30 an hour to Uber food in the city of New York.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they'll come over here under the auspice of these bottom feeder kind of wages, but then they get emboldened and empowered by the Democrats who are fighting for them to have the right to vote in New York. And then they start rallying to make the demands.
Wow.
$30 an hour is what they're demanding. So Eric Adams is a dreadful person. He's not only immigrant, but he chose to put the illegals up in luxury apartments while leveling the predominant freedmen homeless in his city. They leveled those homeless encampments. And now you've got freedmen freezing to death.
Yeah, over the weekend during
Arctic
Christmas
thing that's going on. And this is what the Black immigrants who are getting into power are doing. They are there for immigrants, just like Barack Obama. Yeah. He is a descendant of slave owners and African. So that makes him African American. And this is why flat Black American, flat African American no longer work. You must identify by who you are constitutionally. And I know this government, as every branch, has done a number on us to confuse us. But the only way to get your justice claim is to get in alignment with the truth of who you are as a Black American freedman who descends from U.S. chattel slavery.
That's right.
You better own it, because you got nothing coming at the federal level, especially without that delineation.
Agreed. You said it all.
Okay, Just Me says, shaking my head, the disrespect. Can we go to Africa and sit in their face and panels speaking on them, on how much they owe us, being sold and all? Honey, they didn't invite American freedmen to the Jewish councils, to the Japanese councils. I don't ever remember any of us being involved in what their damages were like. And it is highly offensive to have other people outside of those of us who descend from U.S. chattel slavery deciding and determining what our reparations should be. It is an insult of exponential proportion. Did you want to weigh in on that, TRAHERN?
I definitely think our commission should be 85% U.S. free, 85 and above U.S. freedmen deciding on who should be on there. And then, so yeah, that's something that's going to be important, especially going forward with making sure that they're lineage based, but also not just, I think, again, I want to go back to the application, because sometimes you can get, like in California, you guys had the guy who did that, I think he was Black, who tried to stall it, and that effort got vetoed. So that's why the questions that you're asking people are very important. Also, we want it to be Black, but we want it to be people who understand that lineage-based reparations is the answer, no matter what their ethnicity is.
I like it. I pray that that's a serious and very intense vetting process and interview.
Yeah.
So, like I said, get with Camila. They can help you frame what that should look like. Okay, moving on. I'm so sorry, TRAHERN.
Okay.
They got a lot on their mind tonight. At Young, they are the puppet masters. When Maynard Jackson was there, ATL had progress and order. Do you agree?
I was kind of young back then. I think but I know he was doing some great things there. I can even say Marion Barry had, I think half of the contracts for downtown construction were like 45%.
Yeah.
And things like that. So even just getting back to that, so that's what reparations, but even, so like I think we was talking about last year, they just built a neighborhood in Highland. Like that's going to create generational wealth for the people who are building, who have that, for the developers who have that contract. They're building another one here in St. Paul. And these big projects they're multi-million-dollar projects or sometimes billion-dollar projects. And whoever's building those is gonna create generational wealth for them. It's gonna create jobs for them, their people. And so we need to be following that and making sure that we're getting some of those contracts and procuring some of those contracts and things like that. So I don't know if Maynard Jackson was doing that, but I know Marion Barry was doing that. And we need to make sure that our Black politicians are doing that type of work on our behalf and putting pressure on the Congressional Black Caucus and others to make sure that they have that type of thinking when they're at the table for us.
I totally agree. You also want to go back to a quota system. The nerve of Asians and white folks to be running around talking reverse racism when it comes to our affirmative action that was supposed to exclusively benefit us. What they did was killed and lynched and raped and stole all of our wealth. And now you see a mad dash from what happened on the state level here to happen federally now that they've gotten and stolen and killed and done all those manner of things to rob us of our wealth. Now they want to shut the door on reparations. I'm here to tell you we still need quota systems. Okay, racism in this country, racism and hiring practices didn't end because we had 2 terms of Barack Obama. Right. I would venture to say it got worse.
Exactly. It hit. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. So yeah, we got to stay on it. I know but we just got to stay on it at the local, state, and federal level.
Agreed. Bibi goes on to say at Reparations, Jackson, Mississippi has no water again. Second stop order in 60 days. This is what they're doing, TRAHERN. They're trying to, this is another part of their eugenist plans. They're fighting harder for us to abort our babies than they are for us to have economic inclusion. And when we don't do that in the numbers that they want us to, now they're poisoning us in the water. They're poisoning our water and making it impossible for us to have clean water. This is what happens when you've been redlined into environmentally racist communities and tenement housing.
Exactly.
This is only happening where we are the majority. Where we are heavily populated, you find lead in the water and you find lead in the paint, and it's killing us. And this is the government doing it. And so these are all distractions, right? Because now we've got to fight this, we got to fight that, we got to be spread in all these million different directions just to make sure our people can survive until the reparations is paid.
Exactly.
You have any thoughts on that? It's diabolical.
And like you're saying, we don't have 6 years, like we don't really have a lot of time because we're getting poisoned environmentally. And this Flint, Michigan, we just went through Flint, Michigan. Now we're dealing with.
It's not over. Flint's water is still not right.
Exactly. So this could go on in but at the same time, Flint, Michigan right now has the same ARP funds that we were just talking about. Jackson, Mississippi has these funds, but nobody's making sure that these funds are being used to make sure that the water infrastructure for the American descendants of chattel slavery is safe and drinkable. And somebody has to have the political will to do that in Jackson, in Flint, and in Detroit. And here on the east side of St. Paul, we need to make sure 700 kids a year here in Minnesota get lead poisoning. And I don't know for sure, but I think most of them would be Black or the American descendants of chattel slavery. So environmental racism is real, but I think there's going to be a connection with poverty in that too.
In everything that we suffer. In everything that we suffer, poverty is attached.
Exactly.
You don't see these glacier donkeys over in white and immigrant communities where their median net worth is $72,000.
Right. Exactly.
That's including the Black ones. When you look at our $3 trillion in household dollars as compared to whites and immigrants whom they've made white, hundreds of trillions of household dollars that they share in, 2.93 trillion is predominantly Black immigrant.
Yeah.
The other 86% of us share in less than 700 billion since COVID.
I want to just
every harm is American freedmen. That's why I don't want to hear folks bring up no outliers. They want to have a pissing match over who the glacier donkeys kill that are unarmed, whether they want to get to a pissing match with me when I've got the data. You can't sit up here and tell me when you live as whiteness, because the color of white in this country is green. You can't tell me that proportionately you suffer the same harms as American and freedmen. They're not in your communities executing unarmed Black men, women, and children with impunity. Go ahead, TRAHERN.
No, and I just want to talk about why this important. Why this is why you should make a donation to this show right now, because you're getting information here that you don't hear nowhere else. I'm serious. I watched. They had a listening party, or they had a viewing party of the hearing, but they referenced what you were on Clubhouse, and the people who were hosting that hearing referenced what you just said about this in our last week's show. So I was like, yeah, people are really watching and they're learning. So thank you. Make that donation. Give to this show. This show is real important. But if you could just before we do close out, could you just explain that one more time? Because we think when we say Blacks have $3 trillion worth of the wealth, even me, I was kind of like, when you said that last week, I got a little upset, so think like, wow, I thought we had more than we do. We don't even got 3 trillion.
We don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of.
Right.
And that's just the truth. And I really am over people in the new Black media acting as if we're just wasting money on hair weaves and Air Jordans. Right. We don't have it like that. We are in survival mode.
Yes.
So to repeat it, of the 3 little measly trillion that Blacks collectively share in this country, 2.93 trillion are shared by 14% of Blacks, which we've got some overlap. And although some Jay-Z and Beyonce might be in that 10 to 14%, the bottom line is when you look at the media wealth position of the Black immigrant at 72,000 and the median net worth of American freedmen at $1,400, it is clear who's sharing in the 2.93 trillion. And it is clear that the majority of us, which is 86 to 90%, sharing in less than 700 billion since COVID. They don't give a damn if you boycott. They're not counting your money in their bottom line. And so all these people in the new Black media acting as if we need to boycott, 700 billion is nothing in comparison to the hundreds of trillions that these Crayola white supremacists share in, that they killed and raped and stole and lynched from us.
Exactly. Wow. So yeah, just thank you for that information. We got a lot of work to do. Man.
We have a lot of work to do, and if you want to get involved, we're going to give you all of TRAHERN's information as to how you can reach him, because folks is trying to get to you through me. It's like, let me give you a way to reach him direct. If you're open to sharing, there are people who really want to get involved, and we should let them.
Yeah, we need
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. We need all hands on deck now.
We need all hands on deck. Okay, so Just Me says that 1800 and 1900 census shows only our people. Them tethers don't have that. Yes, 18 and 1900, but not everybody filled in the census. White folks was doing very nefarious things, not really identifying us as who we are. They've been robbing us forever, family, even to this day. So it's very, very difficult to get a clear count of who we are and our numbers. And I think some information is floating that is understated by about 20 million of us. They love to act as if we're so few in number because they know there's power in numbers. And so they lie. And lots of us won't even sign up for the census. But I'm saying the last two census cycles will work because if you identify as white, then it don't matter if you got a drop of ADOX blood. It does not matter because you've benefited from whiteness. You've gotten all the resources and you've gotten all the jobs and you've gotten the best salaries and you've got retirement savings and you've got home ownership and you've got businesses. So that's why I said the last two is sufficient along with your mom's, or if you don't have Negro. I don't even think my daughter has Negro on hers, but she's got mine. So go and get with G-Ma, go and get with Mama, Paw, and get their birth certificates, come in with your census, and they can look it up. It's all, documented. But this is another reason why you need to participate in the census because we can see, right, TRAHERN?
Yes, that's right. Exactly. And it's all there.
Yeah. And especially Negro or colored. Okay, here we go. I got an earful tonight. Great job. All right now. They're much happier with me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Closet octoroons and generational passers will be in line and must be blocked. Yeah, well, like I said, the census and how you declare on the last two census should rule a lot of this bullshiggity out.
Yeah. Agreed.
Amen. Okay, I'm almost done. I hope, Lord. They're my co-host. This is how we do it. TFLG 325. We also don't have government records of going through the immigration process like others who were processed through Ellis Island, Homeland Security, etc. Those are additional markers that delineate us. Very valid point. Thank you for that. Very valid point. So I guess you could check a database.
Yeah.
To call them out. No, you're not getting through. You're not getting through the line. Now you guys will have a black agenda. Like, the black immigrants will fall under some of those black agenda items.
Yeah.
But I'm talking in terms of closing the racial wealth gap with these repairs through the state. No, you're not entitled to that. Did you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah. So we had this conversation before, and even being able to explain this to our people, like if I get hit by a car, I'm going to get cashed out. But then we're going to say, we'll put up a stop sign at this intersection so nobody else gets hit by a car too. So once we put up the stop sign, that helps everybody, but only the person who got hit by the car is going to get actually cashed out. So that's why we're saying just specifically the reparations is specifically for the American descendants of chattel slavery, FBA or freedmen, and then the stop sign or other like the black agenda policies are for, all black people who live in St. Paul or the state of Minnesota. And then even once we start doing it at the federal level too.
Absolutely. Gwen Exo asks, we don't have to go through the House and Senate, right? Who gets to decide about the budget there once you calculate damages? Who do you guys have to go through to get a vote on earmarking federal dollars to go specifically to ADOX?
So when the city council, once these proposals come on, they'll be voted on by the city council, and then the mayor will have to sign off on it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, we don't have to go through the House and Senate. That's more at the federal level, Gwen XOXO.
Yeah.
For this specific reparations commission. I don't know about others, okay?
Yeah. But
sorry, go ahead.
No, I won't speak on that right now. But yeah, just at the local level, it would just be this mayor and the city council.
Thank you for that clarification. So in addition, make sure there's no past, I don't even have my glasses, no past family record of immigration processing and no future one needed either. I like that. Thank you. Democrats do not like Black Americans, honey. You know what the biggest problem is, Gwen XOXO? We do not have the backbone and the cojones of our ancestors who knew when to pivot from the Republicans to the Democrats when the Republicans wouldn't get civil rights done. There is no way we should have been this loyal to them since FDR. That is a nightmare that we just continue to believe in hope and change while getting stuffed deeper and deeper and deeper into the bottom of the ocean. We're not even in the boat no more.
Exactly.
It's happening in real time that we're being ethnogenocided, and we continue to deliver people like Warnock because folks want to get caught up on the fact that Herschel Walker doesn't speak the King's English, or Donald Trump tweets mean, or call Africa a ishhole country. Like, this is madness to me. And so we are the reason why we remain on the bottom, because we're stuck on stupid. TRAHERN, did you want to weigh in?
We have to get tangibles for our vote. And, I won't say don't vote, but I would say really question people. If somebody comes to you and asks, hey, can I get your vote? And it should be, well, do you support reparations? And if they say no, then we should say no. It's that simple. It's not that hard. And I think once we start doing that, we'll see like you're saying, the Democrats really have to feel us understand, like, we are not going to support you if you don't make sure that our needs are met. Everybody else's needs are
understand.
Right.
They understand. They see consciousness changing.
Exactly.
They're all up and through my channel. Trust and believe.
Yeah.
Our people may not be watching, but I know they're watching me because of how I'm being censored, because of all the copyright strikes I'm getting, how Facebook shut down my channel at 5,000 subs because I was speaking against the jab. I was speaking against the Joe Crow administration. I was speaking against, and I was speaking for reparations exclusively for us.
Wow.
I was upsetting the apple cart, wiped it out without notice. And so what you see now is a little engine that could. I had to recreate myself. Folks, just kind of piecemeal, because I was doing everything through Facebook, TRAHERN.
Yeah.
That's how I build in the beginning. I really didn't know a lot about ScrewTube. But now ScrewTube is getting in on the app.
Yeah.
And so they know exactly what they're doing, family. And what they're doing is erasing and replacing us with our own vote. This is why you see the borders being opened while Kagame lies to us and say it's closed and that it's under control. This is why you see ICE, instead of deporting these people, like, they'll allow millions to come in and only deport 100,000. That's how egregious it is. And what they're doing now is they're processing them at the border. They're not deporting them. They are being processed and they are being paroled and given work permits. And I did an archive. You just look it up. I bring out my articles. Y'all know I weaponize current events to bring you up on game through a Freedmen reparationist perspective lens to tell you firsthand what the Democrats are doing in response to us awakening. They are putting a full court press on our erasure replacement. So you cannot afford to withhold your vote. You must cast your protest vote for closed border candidates. That is our most imminent threat. And until you bring these Democrats to their knees for several election cycles and not allow them to govern, not allow their palms to be greased, selling us out, you got nothing coming.
Man,
it will not be tangible. It will not be reparations. You better learn to cozy up to the conservatives, because they would be more prone to give us reparations than these Democrats. TRAHERN?
So I would encourage us to start having that serious engagement with both parties. Don't just stick to, like you're saying, to the
The
Democrats.
Democrats
We
are a
gotta
lost
go.
cause. They lie. They will tell you that they're for reparations and will not run it on their platform. Hello, Nina Turner. That's why you lost, boo-boo. We are done with the lip service and we are done talking.
Yeah.
It's been 60 years of talking and trying to get them to see us, and they'll be on some dumb stuff. Oh, let's give them Maya Angelou on the back of a quarter. You
Right.
clearly see us making reparations a national debate stage topic, and you come with the dumb. We didn't need you to make Juneteenth a federal holiday that whites and Crayola white supremacists get to benefit from. Why do they benefit from it? Because we suffer the highest rates of unemployment and underemployment. So what you always do, Democrats, I'm done talking to you, you always weaponize our never-ending Holocaust to give the come up and the vacations and the paid holidays to everyone but American freedmen. It stops this election cycle. I need you guys to grow a backbone, stop talking to the Democrats, and grow a backbone and the cojones of our ancestors and protest vote for closed border and American first candidates only, party be damned, or you leave the fate of our lineage in the hands of immigrants who seek to replace us and Crayola white supremacists who seek to erase us. Have a conversation with the folks you ain't never talked to and watch shit get done. TRAHERN?
I agree. We just can't let the Democrat Party continue to take advantage of our vote. Just in 2020, we flipped Georgia blue for the first time.
And now he's got 6 years. When Herschel Walker was about closing those borders, Atlanta will be California before it's said and done if we deliver the Democrats in 24. It's going to be a wrap. We have gone from 6.5 million to 7 million in the state of California to around 2 million.
Man.
Y'all keep bucking around.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna find out.
Man. And I remember, man, California,
We are legislated out of this piece, and I've been fighting for them to be able to come back in this reparations package. I want those who were legislated out because they couldn't find employment because of discrimination. They couldn't speak Spanish. All manner of things that they shut us down from getting entitlement with Prop 209 with our affirmative action. They are now 50% of this state, and we're down to 2 million.
Wow.
So y'all keep fucking around if you want to. Vote Miss Blue, no matter damn who, or withholding your vote. You're doing it to the extinction, erasure, replacement, peril of your own line. TFLG 325 says political operatives are floating around the idea of Asian Americans wanted to advocate for us getting reparations. They are actually in line with NCOBRA to sabotage us. Yes, family.
Okay. You're
absolutely right. Narcan and Cobra, and there's one other group. I just did that live yesterday if you want to check that out. This is about Asians getting in bed with folks who are Pan-Africanist. The folks that will push HR 40. Folks who are pushing for an executive order without American freedmen being at the table determining what that should look like. And so we're in the works right now, and we will have some action items for you. We're going to get to work, and this is the part where everybody gets to be a part of the movement, because we're bringing the hammer down on the nefarious, greasy, slimy way in which Narcan and Cobra are moving to get an executive order of HR 40. Because, family, the clock is running out. At the end of this year, HR 40 is finished. And so Joe Crow may ignore the EO request, or he might weaponize it to get us to sheepwalk to the polls come 24. It can go either way. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Go ahead, TRAHERN.
And again, I think we need to engage those groups because all Japanese, all Asians didn't get American reparations. Only the people who were in those concentration camps and their descendants were the ones who got those reparations. So they need to understand that. We really got to start educating people on lineage-based reparations and why it's so important, and show them that didn't even happen for you. So why would you ask us to do something like that? That doesn't even make any sense. So yeah, let's keep engaging people and educating them about lineage-based reparations.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Welcome to the live. Look at the members on that Asian caucus in Congress. All the Black establishment bootlicks. I told you, the color of white in this country has become green. You can be blue, black, like the bottom of a shoe, but if you got the money, you can be made white. You got folks that are blue, black from Africa and the Arab countries, and they identify as white. Even Kabami's mama identified as white on the birth certificate.
Wow. Yep. And yeah, that's that caste system that they have over there.
Oh yeah, and that's what we have here.
Yeah. Wow. Come on.
Reparationists speak. This is multi-layered and must be dealt with. Come through, BB. Exactly. I got some smart co-hosts, honey. $500 million has been allocated to emergency migrant services in New York City. More of our reparations.
Exactly.
This is what I'm talking about. While they sit up here and tell us they ain't got it. Democrats had a full trifecta for 18 months. We got symbolism. But some of y'all get amnesia when you get to the polls.
Exactly.
And continue to vote for this. What's up, Freedmen? The DOJ blocked us from being part of our outreach and research. The DOJ controls what we even talk about as harms in reparations. Woo-wee! Family.
That sounds like a show right there.
Huh?
I said, that sounds like a show topic right there.
Seriously. People in every major city, there is homeless population, and they are predominantly Freedmen descendants with children. We must be prioritized over all others. Honey, you ain't never lied. That's why y'all got to get active locally. Gmail me at therepperspect Gmail, and I'll plug you into people that are legitimately fighting. Exactly. Lots of grifters. I want you to avoid the grifters. So come and talk to your trusted reparationist perspective, and I'll plug you in to the best of my ability. Otherwise, I may have to tell you that you have to create it. It is what it is. We had to create it, right? TRAHERN.
Exactly. We had to, from scratch.
We didn't have a blueprint.
Yup. And I'm proud to be able to be connected with reparations experts like Angela, Dawn Page, Ashan, and those here locally that have been working on the St. Paul Recovery Act and the Minnesota Migration Act too. So we're going to keep pushing.
And we are here for you, fam, to help you frame it, to help you refine it, to help you amend it, whatever you need.
Exactly.
You know, you got my number on speed dial, right? Making Freedmen migrate out where we are the majority. Yes, Freedmen, we are being gentrified right out of our communities, and we don't have the resources to relocate. It costs between $15,000 and $20,000 just to uproot yourself to even get back south. We are barely hanging on based on the data I just espoused. So this is our country, and now the Democrats have declared war on American freedmen. Their missile is immigration, and so we must return fire. And the way you do that is to weaponize the only commodity you've got, your vote. Your vote is now your missile. Okay? The ballot is the missile. The ballot is the bullet.
Exactly.
Ain't no either or. It just is what it is. And y'all need to weaponize that piece coming up in 24. Let's see here. Flint, Michigan.
Newark.
Jackson, Mississippi, Newark, New Jersey. I think Houston, Texas.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
having issues with the water, family. Yeah, that's a whole broadcast right there.
Exactly.
VFR3, how much African American ancestry do you need to qualify? You need to descend from U.S. chattel slavery, period. And the way you show proof of that, as I mentioned prior, is through a birth certificate with Negro from your parent or your grandparent, a family member that's once or twice removed, and you have to identify as Black or African American on the last two censuses. That's what I'm pushing for. It's not either or, it's both and.
Right.
Okay, because we know they flatten Blackness to mask the government's failure wherein freedmen are concerned at every branch.
Agreed.
I can't believe my people are still thinking backwards. Yeah, fam, it's sad. But that's why we're here. That's why I come on here. And TRAHERN is here. And you've got some real soldiers in this fight trying to reverse the Titanic. And the way we slow the Titanic down is to weaponize the vote.
Exactly.
We want to get this vote so weaponized for several election cycles. Because if you notice, when the Democrats have a trifecta, American freedmen are the only ones in distress, right?
Yes.
So when we weaponize the vote, we also socialize the suffering. It's not just us, because Donald Trump wasn't giving away our reparations and protections to immigrants. And ICE was so tough out in the state of California, our unemployment numbers were at 5%. Now it's approaching 20%.
Wow.
So I'm here to tell you, this thinking backwards and not getting this education is hurting us. We're doing all we can to hit folks and put you up on game.
Damn.
But you have to understand, family, that whatever the Democrats love, you must despise. And what they despise, you must embrace. And so look at the full court press they're doing on Trump, who did us nothing. He did us nothing. Nobody can tell me any harms that came to us by way of Trump. He gave the HBCUs money. He even offered $500 billion. You know, his administration offered $500 billion to Ice Cube when he appealed to them for reparations. Joe Crow administration gave Ice Cube his ass to kiss. Now, I'm here to tell you it wasn't nearly enough, but at least the Republicans was having a dialogue. I don't know how sincere they were, but they would love to have that Black vote. They would love to have the Black vote. And I'm saying that that's our bargaining power. Now, let me share with you what happened in the last election cycle during midterms. 50% of the Latino vote went to the Republicans. It went up. So guess what they're doing now? Catering to the Hispanics,
right,
to the Latinas. Now imagine if y'all had invoked my Freedmen protest voter strategy during the midterms. Perhaps they would be sitting with us.
Yeah, and so they take us for granted because they know we're going to vote for them at 80-90% each election cycle. So we really got to shift away from that.
We have to. And you want to get this to the place where they're begging us to cut our checks. That's how long the Democrats must suffer.
Yeah.
You cannot allow them in office. And get your popcorn, because everybody will be upset and their panties will be in a bunch. But it is American freedmen that determine the outcome of every election. That is why the Democrats are working overtime to flood the country with immigrants and give them the right to vote. So they no longer have us as the deal breaker. So right now you've got the ancestors and your inner Christ working on your behalf. But they need you to pray and move your damn feet at the same time. They don't need you to sit up here doing the same thing you've done for 60 years.
Exactly.
They need you to grow a backbone and get this done. And I mean, it ain't just for 24. We've got to make them hurt bad for their intentional neglect of American freedmen.
We got elections coming up, 2023. At the local elections are coming up around the country, and those are important too. So
critical.
Let's get involved in those. And there's There's
We can't
resources
afford to miss another election, period.
at all.
I went out in the midterms in the very blue state of California, and I made that ballot bleed.
Yes.
I didn't give a damn what else they was on. You hear me?
Yes,
They
ma'am.
are now closing them borders. They got my vote. Period. The end. And it felt wonderful to stick it to these Democrats. You'll feel great. I know in the beginning it's like, oh man, hell no, I'm not voting for the Republicans. Well, just know that a vote for Democrat is doing more harm for you than to vote for someone who's interested in America's first. We fall under that. Although on the bottom, immigration hurts American freedmen the worst. That is who they're putting our uneducated in direct competition with. And if black men can't work, if they can't make an American wage, they can't afford to marry and have freed babies.
Exactly.
Now, how's the line going to continue? We're going to go the way of the Indians, the Mongolians, the Native American Indians, not the indigenous. That would be us.
Right.
Okay? We're going to go the way of them where they've been pushed out into parts unknown, and lots of them are doing poorly. The only ones that are faring well are the white ones, and the ones who identify as whites, and the ones off the Dawes rolls who paid $5 for our inheritance from the 1866 treaty. TRAHERN?
We see it here with our Native American brothers who they're doing bad. They're getting their encampments pushed out. They're free, they're freezing out outside too. So, and they're getting brutalized by the police at the same level as us, or maybe higher sometimes. So yeah, we don't want that.
That's what's happening to us
We
now.
don't. Yes, and that's why I say I know it's by 2053, but we have to really put a serious dent in this by 2030. Or
get that number out your head. They've lied to you. We are already wealthless. We've been wealthless since we've been on reparations. That's why we fight so hard for it.
Yeah.
That 2053, talk about zero wealth. American freedmen are there. The black immigrants aren't.
Okay,
You got to stop believing these numbers. They're a lie. Look to your left and look to your right. Anyone you know wealthy?
Right. No, ma'am.
Well, that's a hit and a half for your ass.
Exactly.
You ain't got no wealth. Period.
Yeah.
Point blank.
Indeed. Exactly.
If you got to put up a GoFundMe to bury your family, you ain't got no wealth right now.
Exactly.
That's the majority of American freedmen in this country that our ancestors built with their lives. Don't believe those lies. It's done. COVID has wiped us completely off the monopoly board as they give all these other groups the bag.
Wow.
Those COVID relief monies didn't make it to blacks, American freedmen. It didn't.
Nope.
It went to black immigrants and folks that knew that it was there. This money that you're talking about right now, the art monies, that will not get to us unless we are fighting locally for those funds to come directly to us. We've got to set up Office of Freedmen Affairs in the same way Barack Obama set up the Office of the New Americas to cater to the immigrants. Just Me is absolutely right. The CBC is working for the immigrants, not American freedmen who descend from U.S. chattel slavery. Y'all better wake up.
And that's why it's really before I got to get out of here though.
Yep.
That's why it's really local. So it's not. You get to hear, like when you're saying, "Hey, you guys have this money. We need it." So in real time, you'll hear how local government feels about giving you this money. So what you're saying is not, something far-fetched. And when you have this reparations set up, you can, hey, are you guys going to give us this opera money or not? So please, let's continue to push for reparations at the local, state, and federal level, and start having a conversation about these. There's 1.7 trillion that they just 105 billion going to Ukraine right now. And we've seen how they treat the Africans over there. We know that, there's Nazis in the Ukrainian government, but they're still about to give them $105 billion. So It's a no-brainer. But thank you for letting us come and clarify and
Yes.
also broadcasting the St. Paul Recovery Act, and so people can actually hear straight from some of the people in St. Paul who have been harmed by white supremacy and institutional racism here. We greatly appreciate you.
This has been an epic 2 hours. I'm going to stop it there, family. He's on East Coast time, so it's like what, 11:30 out there?
We're at 10:30, right?
Oh, just Central.
10:37. Yeah.
Still, you have been so gracious. We cannot wait to have you back. How do they reach you to get involved?
You can reach out to me and call me at 763-260-4233. My email is TRAHERNCRUISE, all one word, @gmail.com. And also you'll be able to check out the rebroadcast of this on Black Watch Television on your Roku channel.
It's called Black Watch.
Black Watch Television, yeah.
All one word?
Yes.
On Roku.
Yeah. Or blacktvs.com.
blacktv.com.
TV with the S, yeah.
TVs.
Yeah.
All right now. You have thank you. My audience, thank you and we can't wait till you come back. Are there any action items that you need of the people?
January 4th is the vote, so if everybody can be watching that, maybe we can get a live stream of that.
I will definitely live stream it.
And then I think some items will come after that. So we'll all debrief and then talk about some of the things.
Can they, let me copy this link and give this to them so they can go and see the work you guys have done so far, so they can see what's going to be voted on.
Yeah.
I'm going to just put that in the chat. And you guys, if you have extra questions, TRAHERN will be back. So please have them ready after studying the website. I still have a little bit more studying to do myself. Thank you, TRAHERN. I appreciate you, family. God bless you and everything you're doing. And thank you for standing 10 toes down for American freedmen who descend from U.S. chattel slavery. We appreciate you. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you for having us. Looking forward to coming back on and chopping it up some more with you.
Anytime, whenever you're ready, just give me a heads up and we'll make space for you.
Awesome. Thank you. And please don't forget to donate to tonight's program.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Bye-bye now. Peace. All right, family. That's our time. We got it in 2 hours exactly on the money. This has been rich. It has been epic. I am so grateful to you for being here. Please, please, please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. I know Gwen XOXO, lots of people are complaining they're not being notified. My apologies for that. You can always watch the archives if you don't make the live. Thank you, co-host. You guys have kept it lit, and I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. Don't forget to get your book. We're going to start releasing on For the Love of ADOX. Actually, For the Love of Freedmen and Its Allies. He's got me saying ADOX. That's my old term for us, but I'm pushing American Freedmen. So For the Love of Freedmen and Its Allies, we're going to lose weight spiritually. Okay, so you don't have to have a weight loss or a weight gain goal. We just need to make sure in this process of fighting for reparations that we don't allow the fight to enter within us, right? We want to be fighters without the fight consuming us from within. So I'm going to be starting that either January 1st or January 2nd. You guys will prayerfully get the notices. But I look forward to getting into this 21 spiritual lessons for surrendering your weight forever. Okay, so we're going to be doing that at the top of the new year. Thank you guys so much for being here. You know, I've got to do our prayer. I've got to cover you. You know, I'm a metaphysician, and I must put a covering on my people. It gives me peace of mind. Forgive my daughter. I got to get a longer Ethernet cable so y'all don't see her going back and forth. It's the ghetto. Freeman Life family, this cord is too short to reach my box, but I need it to keep the buffering down. With that being said, family, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Freeman and his allies are, God truly is, because family, you are the face of God. Yes, you are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. If no one's told you today how much they love you, know that I love you, Black family, and I love you, Freedmen Strong. Yes, I do. And until we meet again in the new year, I'm believing for each and every one of us a ton of peace, love, and reparations. Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy New You. Write down your resolutions, make them tangible, and let's have an extraordinary 2023. That's what I'm believing for each and every one of us, family. Thank you so much for supporting my voice in this space on behalf of American freedmen. It means more to me than I have the words to convey. Thank you for those of you who have contributed to the broadcast to enable me to keep going and to manifest more of God's ideas to bring to the reparationist perspective. You are appreciated. With that being said, family, I got to play you my outro, and I'll see you on the other side of 2023. Thank you, family. I love you, Black and Strong. Yes, I do. Black and freaking strong.